All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So do me a favor before diving into these topics. If you enjoy the video or find it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here with a really random, but also potentially very interesting rumor that I would suggest you take with a grain of salt, as always. But I did notice that when people were reacting to this rumor, they seemed to be totally on the side of it's not possible. There's no way this is real. This is completely made up. And I understand why people are jumping to that conclusion, because when we look at this rumor, yeah, it seems like it's a bit too early. But I also want to talk about why this could potentially be true. Well, we had this rumor that I came across on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit where it says at TGS, Sony showed an early prototype, or it actually says here early prototypes of the PlayStation 6. This comes from Russian journalist Anton Logvinov. And if I'm not mistaken, he does have a bit of a track record specifically with some PlayStation leaks. I think he was one of the first people to actually leak out that Sony was going to be bringing some of their games to PC, like before Sony actually formally announced that. So he says here, Sony, by the way, not only returned to Tokyo Game Show this year, but also showed next gen to selected tops, I guess kind of like top individuals in the industry, a very early prototype, of course. That's why everyone came to TGS this year, and the show turned out great, just like in the old days. And so that's basically all he reveals here. But this is interesting because people did kind of take note of the fact that Sony did return to TGS this year after 5 years. And it wasn't just Sony, but it was a lot. There was a lot of presence at TGS. And, you know, obviously people are going to look at this and be like, yeah, no, I don't believe this. This is made up. Why are we talking about the PlayStation 6? But if you think about it, right, Sony is coming off of the PS5 Pro reveal. And when we think about what the PS5 Pro is essentially offering, it's basically a potentially slightly early look at some of the stuff we can expect with something like the PlayStation 6. Now, something that is important to understand here, if there is any truth to this rumor, is we are talking about a prototype. And I think this is where people don't quite understand what that means. It's a prototype. It's very early. It's far from being finalized. And people read something like this and they think, well, if Sony is showing the PlayStation 6 to developers already before the PS5 Pro even releases, then I guess the PlayStation 6 is coming out in the next year, even the next 2 years. And that is very likely not the case, right? An early prototype is just that. It's an early prototype, something that's very far from its final form. And another reason I think this makes a lot of sense is because, well, this is something that Sony has proven to do. They basically, before they start locking in their specs, they take their early prototypes to developers and try to get as much feedback from developers as possible. So they know when they lock in those specifications, they know that this is what developers want. This is basically what they asked for. So when I read this, I actually do believe it, because if you see what Sony's doing with the PS5 Pro, they're clearly going in a very different direction compared to what they've ever done before. And obviously they have a lot of, I guess you could say, R&D they have to do for the PlayStation 6. They have to really hone in on what developers will want from a next generation console. Also what consumers want, but Mark Cerny's the one that's going to be creating the PS5. So we know that this is very important to him. We know that he's going to want developer insight. So yeah, I think people should, again, take this with a grain of salt, but it's really not that, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility that this is something that Sony did do behind closed doors for a very select few top individuals within the industry to get some feedback. I imagine that that's something that's going to be critical for them at this moment in time. And I also do want people to, again, keep in mind that just because we're hearing about this doesn't mean the PlayStation 6 is anywhere near ready to release. Like, people are like, imagine talking about the PlayStation 6. It feels like the PS5 gen, you know, barely even got started. It's like, well, I mean, we are halfway through the generation, but we still have a whole second half before the PlayStation 6 is coming out. So there you go. Just wanted to relay this to you guys, but I want to move on to the next topic, which actually talks about Digital Foundry breaking down The Last of Us Part 2 on the PS5 Pro. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. Several games will get a performance jump when the PS5 Pro launches in November. One that seems to be a technical showcase for the improved console is The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. The PS5 Pro enhanced Last of Us Part 2 brings a 4K final image with a rock-solid 60 frames per second, as well as improved image detail. According to Digital Foundry's Oliver McKenzie, the PS5 Pro enhanced Last of Us Part 2 Remastered noticeably improves both image quality and performance. Developer Naughty Dog implemented a Pro mode, which uses a 1440p internal resolution upsampled to 4K using PSSR. It also runs at 60 frames per second, truly matching the game's fidelity and performance modes together in a successful update. The difference between the PS5 Pro Enhanced Last of Us Part 2 and the base PS5 fidelity and performance modes are actually quite striking. Performance mode on PS5 may run at 60 FPS, but image quality is muddy and lacks detail. The PS5's fidelity mode is better visually with a sharper image and more detail, but it does get the frame rate cut in half. The PS5 Pro Enhanced version actually improves on both bringing a solid 60 FPS experience with an even more detailed final image thanks to the console's AI upsampling technology, PSSR. Quote, overall, I'd say the PS5 Pro's rendition of The Last of Us Part 2 seems successful, even in this pre-release state. It delivers a incredible looking 4K image with excellent detail and pretty good image stability at a virtually flawless 60 FPS update. It's effectively, as Mark Sony put it in the PS5 Pro announcement video, achieving fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rate. End quote. That's what Oliver McKenzie had to say. So, yeah, just wanted to keep you guys up to date. It seems like Sony is kind of trickling out these games to Digital Foundry so they can do these deep dive analysis videos. And so far, it seems that, Digital Foundry is relatively impressed. I know that I keep seeing people that are like, it's not worth the money, for what we're getting here. But again, I think that's subjective. If you're somebody who wants that, really good looking image quality, that fidelity level image quality at 60 FPS, it's being achieved here with PSSR. So it's just good to know that, again, if you are somebody who's going to invest in the PS5 Pro, you're getting what Sony told you you're going to get, right? It would be pretty bad if we weren't. But moving on to the next topic, we're talking once again about Metal Gear Solid. This time we have David Hayter, the famous voice actor for Snake, teasing his return. Renowned video game voice actor David Hayter is teasing his return to Metal Gear Solid. The last time Hayter played the role in the beloved franchise was in 2010's Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. He said here with a post on X, I was in the booth today playing a role I've not played since ... He then replies to his own tweet with a gif of Snake from Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. And so the article says here, his use of this GIF doesn't necessarily mean he's recording new lines for the upcoming remake. It doesn't seem too likely, as the producers have stated that they are just putting some finishing touches on Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. It's definitely possible, though. We won't know until something is formally announced. But obviously, a lot of people have been speculating, like, if he's not teasing doing new voice lines for Metal Gear Solid Delta, then what could he possibly be doing if it is in fact related to Metal Gear, which it seems pretty clear it's related to Metal Gear. And I think the most popular theory right now is that Konami is getting ready to, I don't know if they're getting ready to announce it, but they are working on Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2. And a lot of people are thinking if Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be part of that, David Hayter was not involved with Metal Gear Solid 5, and a lot of people didn't like that. We know that Kojima decided to go with Kiefer Sutherland, and Kiefer Sutherland's performance was fine, but it certainly wasn't David Hayter, right? David Hayter is the iconic voice of Snake, and so I almost wonder if maybe Konami decided, you know what, let's bring David Hayter in to record the lines that Snake had in Metal Gear Solid 5, so when they bring that to the collection, they'll be able to say, like, now you can play the game with David Hayter voicing Snake. I honestly think that would be a great selling point. That would definitely win me over to be like, yes, I will absolutely replay Metal Gear Solid 5 just to hear David Hayter's Snake again. But yeah, it's really cool, man. I think a lot of people were very upset when David Hayter, kind of got replaced with Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, it's one of those more controversial decisions that Kojima went with. I know I was pretty upset about it because, I mean, honestly, David Hayter Snake. You know, in my eyes, I can't see it any other way. So the idea that he might be returning to play this role gets me very excited. But I just wanted to let you guys know about that. But guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.